Hello. It is a wonderful day. Actually, it's not. It's raining outside. Is what's funny about it, but that's okay. Because I'm learning lately that even in the rain, I can find happiness. My name is Shirley, in case you don't know, and I wanted to pop in here and talk to you guys about my thoughts about happiness and perspective and things like that. Reason why it's important to me. Well, let me tell you a story. Um, I just turned 49 a couple days. 49. I know, even I look young for 49. I just turned 40 a couple days ago, and it was a very interesting experience for me because it was like a total complete opposite in terms of how I was emotionally when I turned 39 versus fast forward a whole year turning 40. Um, so I'll just tell you the story. When I was turning 39, I had like this, and I've talked to so many people about this too. They all say the same thing. When they were turning 39, they had like, it was like a very depressing time for them. And I didn't know that before it happened, but who knew? No one told me 39 was hard. You hear everybody talk about 40, 50, those is milestone ages. But honestly, there's something about 39. I remember when I turned 29, I was thinking to myself, ooh, I'm about to turn 30. This is going to be great because I felt like I was going to like all of a sudden become a woman and just know all these different things about myself. But when I was turning 39 and, kind of looking forward to 40, it wasn't that way. I was very depressed. I was confused. And um, the crazy thing about it was on paper, everything was not the worst, right? Like, I'm happily married for many years to what I consider my best friend, had a healthy son, still do. We have been able to keep him in private school for basically his whole life. We own our home. Like there's things, like all the stuff on paper, I make, decent money. There was nothing that I could sit there and say, oh, up to this point, I didn't do anything right. We made mistakes along the way. Don't get me wrong. But there definitely wasn't anything that like I could sit there and put my finger on if I wrote everything on paper and said, oh, you messed up here, you messed up there. Just regular mistakes we make along the way, but not anything that should make me feel depressed at that time. I wasn't sick. No one in my family was sick. I wasn't facing, we had hardship. Don't get me wrong. I mean, at that time, there were some things going on, financially that, but, who doesn't have a hard time with finance sometimes? It wasn't that was bothering me. I was really in my feelings. Like I felt like I didn't have any friends, that I hadn't, I was bored. I think maybe that's how you could describe it. I was really bored with life to the point that like I was ready to go. Like I was ready to check out. And I know what I'm saying doesn't sound like checkout type, well, why would you want to check out? You're married, you have, your family's all here, you have your child, you have a nice house, you have a nice, income and job and things like that. Why are you ready to check out? Because happiness is not based on people around you 100%, and it's not 100% based on the things you have or your career. What I realized was I didn't have anything going on for me. And when I say for me, I mean, I have goals outside of my career. I hadn't really done a whole lot to move those along. I had things I liked to do that I put on the back burner because as a mom, I thought it was the right thing to do. I thought, oh, well, you're a mom, sacrifice this, sacrifice that. You're a wife, sacrifice this, sacrifice that. You're a career woman, sacrifice this, sacrifice that. Forget about you and what you want. Just do what looks right. So I was always doing what looked right. I was more concerned about, what I could do for other people, that's my nature, is to be helpful. But that's not what the issue was. The issue was and being so outward focused, I didn't focus on me. And so the biggest thing that I saw lacking at 39 was I was doing nothing for me. Me was on the back burner. Me in terms of confirming my emotional health, me in terms of just having fun in life. Like, leave your husband at home, leave your son at home. Even my son would be like, Mommy, are you going to go do anything by yourself? You know, I mean, and it's just funny that your kids can see it. And like, you watch all the women around you and you almost resent them because you're like, what do you mean you went and got your nails done again? What do you mean you went and, on a hike? What do you mean you went out with your friends? Like, literally, I wasn't jealous of the women around me. I was resentful. I was like, well, how can you do that? Well, what about your kids? What about your husband? And it's nothing wrong with thinking about, you know, I think Jennifer talked about roles we play the other day. It's important to play the role, you know, be the mom when it's time to be mom, be the wife when it's time to be wife, be the career woman when it's time to be career woman, be the student, or, you know, whatever it is that you need to be. But you also have to be you. And that's what I wasn't being. I wasn't being 100% authentically me or true to me or taking care of me. I wasn't a priority for me. And therefore I had no social life. I had, you know, I had all the things, like I said, on paper, but I didn't have the things that innately made me happy. I love makeup. I like jewelry. I like laughing. All the things you could think of. I love unicorns. If you can't tell by, you can't see the picture, but it's a big old unicorn picture up there that Jennifer got me. But anyway, you know, and it's deeper than that. Like, right now I'm talking like surface level, but just on a surface level, you know. And even if you get deep with it, it's like I stopped taking time for nurturing my spirit. I stopped going to the gym to take care of myself. My diet fell off course. There were so many things that I stopped doing because I thought it was what I needed to do to make sure everybody else was okay. And also, even without putting everybody else in the picture, I was doing things because I thought, don't sacrifice you. Like, don't do for you if you know you need to do something else. Like, whatever looks right on paper. So if that means maybe take a splurge, you know, like splurge on yourself, which is necessary sometimes. Go to the spa or something like that. Or splurge on time. Like, you know, take the time for yourself while everybody else is asleep. You know, go get your favorite book and read it. Or sit out in the den while everybody's sleeping, watch a movie, you know, things like that. Like, it doesn't have to be money, but it doesn't have to cost. But the point is that there are things that we as women can do to support our happiness to the core that doesn't require money and should not be looked at as bad. Like, moms and wives and all of us just tend to look at anything that is for us is selfish. Anything that is for us is wrong, and it can be put on a back burner and we don't have to worry about it. But it wasn't until I made a decision to pursue my goals. Like, what is it that I want to do? Sit down and think about, like, you know what your purpose is, but are you operating in it? Or maybe you don't know what your purpose is. Either way, what is it that you're supposed to be doing that is going to, like, make your heart happy and bring you joy? That's what you should be doing. And in that same, like, within a couple months of me deciding, like, I had to make a decision and choose to be happy. And I want to share something I thought about happiness and perspective. The definition of perspective is a particular attitude toward or way of regarding something, a point of view. Happiness is the state of being happy. Synonyms for happiness are pleasure, satisfaction, cheerfulness, joy. Synonyms for perspective are viewpoint, position, attitude, frame of mind. I spent a lot of time when I was turning 39 so focused on what my life wasn't versus looking at the good that was there. Gratitude is a big thing that you need to think about when you're looking at how to be happy to the core. No matter what your situation is, there's always at least one thing you can point out, and you hold on to that one thing and be grateful for it. Another thing, in terms of perspective, is, like I said, state of mind, and happiness is a state of being. How are you, like, if you move somewhere, if I want to move from Georgia, a state, to California, a state, what does it take to do that? I can want and want and want all I want. I can say Georgia sucks all day long, but it takes me making a decision, right? Make a choice. It takes me planning on how I'm going to go from Georgia to California. It takes me doing the things I need to do, like taking action to make those plans come to life. And then it takes the actual doing. And it is the same way with happiness and perspective. To go from a state of low vibration to a higher vibration, you have to take action. And perspective is everything in that situation. Like, happiness is very dependent on your perspective. You look at people who have so much less than what you have, and they find a way to laugh and smile and enjoy life. It's because of their outlook and their mindset. Their happiness is not based on the things they have and things like that. They found a way they figured out what is it that brings them joy, and that's what they do, and that's what they focus on. If we started looking at life through the eyes of a child, I believe, it would change a lot for us. Like, if you put your perspective in the mind frame of a child, kids, like, they could take mud and make something amazing out of it, right? And just love it. They could take a Q-tip. They could take this thing right here and make it, they use their imagination and turn it into they're so focused on whatever they could do with just this and be happy with it. Because they don't have they don't even know how at that point to allow what's going on around them to affect how they're gonna see life. They take the time to, and I know everyone says it's easier said than done. A child doesn't have a job with stress. A child doesn't have bills. A child doesn't have this, doesn't have that. But guess what? They will one day. But how we raise them and talk to them about how to manage their emotions is what's going to help them cope better than we did, right? But regardless of all of that, we can make a decision. We can choose to alter our mindset with whatever tools and self-care and I'm going off track here. That's one thing I forgot to tell you guys. I'm very all over the place because I start thinking a whole bunch of different things. But you get my point. My point is that you have to have a good perspective on life and make a choice to be happy. So I decided that this year, with me turning 40, that it wasn't going to be like it was last year. I'm not going to go into it depressed. I'm going to figure out what was missing for me then, and I'm going to have it now. And it took some convincing, don't get me wrong, because I almost didn't do it. But I decided that one of the things, I see my birthday as a new year. I don't know about you guys, but like, it's not January 1st. I see my birthday as that time to look at what's going on around me, set goals and things like that. My birthday is my new year. And whatever I'm doing on my birthday, I feel like it's going to create whatever. So like I was saying, I decided that when I turned 40, it will be totally different than how it was when I turned 39. I was going to choose the outcomes that I wanted. And besides all the decisions I've been making since then, in terms of focusing more on my business and the things I want for my business, focusing more on how I can help other people and help women and things like that, the one thing I promised myself was that I was going to take more time for me, because I knew that that's what the missing link was for me from a happiness perspective. I have so many things, honestly, to be happy about that even when I was depressed back then, I didn't really have any reason to be depressed. But for a a lot of the things I've learned over the course of this past year is like, you control that. And I told people that all the time, but I guess when it came to me, you know how it is, you won't take your own medicine. And I just decided, like, I'm not going to have the same attitude that I had then. I realized that everything I want, I can have if I choose to believe that I can have it, take the steps I need to get it, and not allow any setbacks or obstacles to make me change otherwise in how I think and see things. So it was raining in Atlanta today, like I said, and there was a lot of traffic going to pick my son up. I try not to let it bother me anymore when things like that happen, because I'm like, I literally just, it's a waste of energy. I only want to, what you focus on the most, you pull in, right? So I could go and hop in traffic and I could sit there and say, oh my God, here we go again. I'm never going to get to him. I'm just going to sit here all day. Oh my God. Traffic is something we can't control, right? But we can't control how we look at it. It's raining. Everybody drives even more stupid when it's raining, right? I can sit there and focus on that, or I can focus on the fact that, well, we did kind of have a drought here in Atlanta. This is helping replenish, right? Not just that, rain is cleansing. And I'm going to sleep good tonight because rain makes you sleepy. Like, there's so many other things, you know, you could think of, and it sounds kooky, it sounds overly positive, or whatever you want to say. It sounds unicorns and rainbows. But what I realized is I control how I'm going to feel. I control how I see the world. I control my core happiness. And so, you know, back to what I was saying about the choices I decided to make for my new year. One of those big things, like I said, was making sure that I'm more social and that I'm around more women and things like that. Because part of what was making me so depressed when I turned 39 was I realized I had no social life. I wasn't out there. Like, my social life was literally on social media, like watching everybody else live, but I wasn't living. And any woman around me who was living, I resented. And no one probably could ever tell because I would post all these positive things, but I meant them from the core. But the issue was that I didn't know. You know how sometimes you don't know what you need until you need it, like until something tells you need it. And for all the things that were good that I could say I had on paper, that was a missing link. There was no me, like there was no me in any of it. Another thing that I wanted to share about, there was this quote. It said, you don't have to be perfect to inspire others. Inspire others by how you deal with your imperfections. I wasn't social because I felt like my life was too imperfect to share with other people. I didn't want anybody to, and I've been that way my whole life. I didn't want anybody to look at me or know me to the core. To know what my history is, to know anything about me, right? Because I was afraid that was going to make them judge me. But that was taken away from my ability to be happy, because you can't, for me anyway, this is not the same for everybody. Even though I say I'm an introvert, that doesn't mean I don't like people. I don't like genuine conversation and hearing people's stories and things like that and growing from what I hear from other people. But how can I get that growth or enjoyment from being around other people if I block myself off from the world around me out of fear? And fear is the biggest blocker of happiness. Last thing, I was talking to one of my girlfriends about, or someone in my tribe, about how I felt this time last year and how this birthday was really good, right? And it really was heavily dependent upon the choices that I made. And I said, you know, last year I felt like I didn't have anybody and blah, 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 blah. And she said, well, I said I didn't have anybody, right? And she was like, well, you felt like you didn't have anybody. She said, we were here all along. You just didn't see us. And sometimes, and this is my parting words, sometimes our happiness is being blocked. It is all around me, right? It's all around you, but you can't see it because you're so focused on what you feel like you don't have. You're so focused on what the victim that you feel like you are, or the situation that's going on around you. The biggest thing we're promised in life is change, right? There is nothing that promises us that everything is just always going to be perfect, but we will always have change. That's a constant. The only thing that we can affect, though, is how we see it, how we encounter change. So, yes, it might suck that you get laid off, but in getting laid off, what are your natural talents and abilities that, and even what did you get from the company that just laid you off that you can turn around and use for yourself to make a business? Or it sucks that he left, but he is not, that's not the only job. He's not the only man. You know, I can go on and on about all those kind of things, but how we choose to see life, how we choose to react to the things that happen to us is what will determine our happiness. And what decisions we make and what plans we make are what will have help to determine our happiness. I hope I made it very clear what I was trying to get across. And that's mainly just happiness is a choice. And happiness, in my opinion, is not a noun, it's a verb. You have to not only choose and decide, but take action toward your happiness. And what is that? I can't tell you what that is for you. For me, in the moments where I was feeling the worst, it was that I felt like I didn't have a tribe, and I did have them. I just, like one of my tribe members said, you just didn't see us because you were so busy seeing what you thought you didn't have. So I say, open your eyes, get rid of all that crap that's blocking it. You know how little kids go to sleep and they wake up with all that crap in their eyes? Rub your eyes out, wash your face, and look around you. What you feel like you don't have has probably been there this whole time, but you were so focused on what you didn't have, you couldn't see what was right in front of you. Open your eyes to see that your happiness is probably somewhere right in front of you. And that is my nugget for the day. Bye, guys. See you next time.